Right, so new space and probably a bunch of new mistakes that I'm about to make. Right, so the Lumix 24-105 f4, an L-mount lens manufactured by Panasonic for their evolving and their impressive S-series full-frame mirrorless cameras, including their newly announced Lumix S5 II and S5 IIX. Now, L-mount lenses were developed initially by Leica but have been embraced by other manufacturers, forming part of the notorious L-mount alliance, which include Leica, Panasonic, Sigma, Lights, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, and recently DJI. Now, when I first chose to commit to the L-mount system, I was met by some online individuals telling me that I wouldn't have many options down the line in terms of lens choices. My opinion on the matter was that I wouldn't need to buy many lenses anyway. I just need a certain focal range, and frankly, those concerns were unwarranted, as we can now see with the range of lenses available. And that's not only from L-mount alliance manufacturers, but third-party brands too. Especially now with what we know about the new S5 II releases, I am very happy with my previous decision. I don't think I will be purchasing any camera or any new camera anytime soon, but I can say that I'm even more confident in my past decisions today. So all videos that you'll see in this video that you're watching will have been taken with my combo that I've been exclusively using over the past 8 months, which is the Lumix S5 and the 24-105 f4, with the exception of the B-roll you'll be seeing throughout of the combo itself. Now, getting on with the point, the Lumix 24-105 f4, I purchased this lens in Frankfurt, Germany in May of 2022, pre-owned the day before my trip to Lima, Peru. This was the first trip of a few to be taken in 2022, and this lens was a gift from Julia, and she paid around 730 euros for this one, so that's around 650 pounds, or just under 650 pounds in excellent condition. So what we're going to do for this video is briefly chat about some of my travels I embarked on in 2022, and with each destination I'll showcase some of my favorite images from each trip. From May 2022 up until now, I have only shot with this lens on my Lumix S5. It's been a great all-round lens, and I'll mostly let the images and video clips do the talking per se with regard to the quality of work that can be achieved with this lens. The month that I spent in Lima was what I would call an interesting, if not a challenging, segment of time in my adult life. I had initially decided to go visit my family, that's including my mother, my grandmother, aunts, uncles, and cousins. My mom is Peruvian, but the time leading up to my trip to Lima included some emotional challenges and some trauma that resulted in me really struggling to get myself to pick up my camera. Picking up the camera and taking photos is a real pleasure to me, and the guilt following the death of Luna took all aspects of any joy out of photography for me. So I packed the camera in. Julia gifted me this lens knowing that this would pass and that I would be taking photos again eventually. You know, bad things happen and we have to move on eventually, stuff like that. Move forward. Get on with it. And for the first few days in Lima, I didn't take the camera out, and one of the main reasons why was safety. All my family members kept warning me not to have the camera out, but out of a sense of stubbornness, or, you know, I can't be afraid all the time. I'm sure I can do this carefully, and if I use my brain and common sense, I can take the camera out without regretting it, without getting it stolen. So my mom and I went for a walk for breakfast in Barranco, where we were staying, and I hid my camera in my backpack out of pure rebellion. I'm gonna take this with, even though everyone told me I shouldn't. And the first photo that I took were of this very cute, lovely little soul that you see on screen, and his name was Puerco, which means pork, a sweet bulldog that lives with his dad in Barranco in Lima, Peru. We did some chatting, I did some snapping, and from there on I naturally or organically shifted back to seeing the world through the photographer eyes. It was still sad and I still felt guilty, but after that day, I'd managed to get myself back into a position where I could be strategically hard on myself to force that art and that photo discipline upon myself. So the motivation wasn't there yet, but I could now put a stern hand down and be disciplined with the act of getting out there and taking photos. From Lima, I went on to the Philippines for the first time. I went with Tim and Des, who are two of my closest friends in London. I went to school with Tim in Cape Town, and Des, he married a few years ago, and we do lots of things together. And Des invited me to join them and their family to visit her family in the Philippines. And wow, it was a beautiful combination of true unfiltered and raw local experience in Clavaria, which is at the very north of mainland Philippines, and from there on it was some island hopping and some more of the touristy experiences. Now, I have been saying that I will put together a full video about this entire trip, and I will, but for this video I'll share some of my favorite images from that beautiful trip. I made new friends. I also reinforced some existing friendships. It was an experience of a lifetime. It was a privilege to meet Des's family and have them take me on as if I too was a family member. It was really special. And from there it's London. The images from London that I'll share will be studio shots. I was fortunate enough to be able to put up my own little photo studio in the downstairs of our shared flat, and that has made a fun difference. I've taken some lovely portraits, including some maternity, family, as well as keeping up with the practice of taking self-portraits. I must say that this lens is it's a great all-rounder. Portraits, sessions, travels, adventure. This thing has not come off of my camera. It will be coming off soon now that I'm back in Cape Town for a little burst of time, and I have brought with me some adapters that will allow me to take photo with a bunch of vintage lenses that I've collected along the way at super bargain prices. I am looking forward to the change, but the 8 months with this lens has been fantastic. But all in all, this lens is overall a blast. I couldn't recommend it more. The only negative that I can emphasize on is that it is very sharp, and you will find the sharp feel persist even in the background components in your images, which you should feel are more soft. I might stand to be corrected on this one, folks. I've been paying closer attention, and a lot of the photos actually they're soft where they're supposed to be soft. So the sharpness that I sometimes feel throughout my images in the background components that I feel should be soft, I think it's user error. That's me. Mea culpa. Nothing that a little noise reduction touch can't fix. But really, when you have that large of a focal range, this 24-105 is a fair size, or it's not too overwhelmingly large, or maybe I'm just getting used to it now. I don't think you can go wrong with this. The f4 at full frame is good enough for me, and I'm sure it'd be good enough for many of you out there that might be considering investing in this. As mentioned, I got mine pre-owned at, I believe it was around 730 euros. Perfect condition, like new, that's like 650 pounds. It's been on my S5 since May 2022, and it's stayed there until now. I've traveled to all these places with only the S5 and that one lens, with the exception of Cape Town now, where I have brought my GH5 with me for YouTube purposes and adapting my lenses. But for the most part, I'd say that 99.9999% of the last 8 months, it's been just me and the setup, along with my variable ND and a couple of little bits, like the microphone, small pocket light, stuff like that. And of course my action camera for those underwater shots, for which I can't use the S5, and I never felt I was missing something. So to end this video off, any of you wanting some definitive yes or no recommendations or opinions, I have decided that I will be a bit more sure of myself and my experience as a photographer, a camera operator in this new year. So I can most certainly recommend this lens to anybody looking to responsibly invest in some L-mount glass. And for a little bonus, when it comes to the Micro Four Thirds system for a similar focal range, if you're looking to just have that one lens, that all-rounder, for the GH5, the Lumix Leica 12-60mm f2.8-4 is a fantastic choice. You of course won't have as much easy access to shadow depth or field imagery like with the full frame, but the dense colors that you will be able to push out of those images captured with this lens will not leave you wanting. If you cannot afford that lens, there's a Lumix 12-60 f3.5-5.6 that you'd be able to find at a significantly more affordable price if purchased pre-owned, and I made a full video on that lens, the lens that taught me how to make gear matter. You can find that video somewhere on your screen right now if you're interested. And let's leave it at that. Thanks so much for being here, folks. I do appreciate it. Take care of yourselves, and I'll catch you in the next video.